Hey guys, Josh here, and got something that I think is pretty cool to talk with you about today. I think this is like really tactical stuff that you'll be able to use on pretty much like any type of promotion that you have that just you know requires some sort of a different strategy than like the appointment generator strategy or just really if you're in a position where you've got a new product you want to launch, you've got a new offer you want to get out there in a big way, and you just don't have many people to tell about it, right? And so this strategy, you would use this for any time that you need a large database of prospects to work through an email campaign. And there are times when certain types of promotions and campaigns are just meant for email. They feel more natural for certain things using email does than LinkedIn or Facebook messaging, right? So any sort of, let's say, multi-part content series that leads to an offer will more times than not be received more positively via email, right? So let's talk about this in a little more depth real quick. So why am I talking about multi-part content series that leads to an offer? Well, sometimes if you just, let's say you just connect with somebody on LinkedIn and you just then immediately turn around and say, hey, I'd love to get on a call with you sometime. I'd love to schedule a strategy session with you. I want to tell you about my new product that I just released. There's no context. There's no relationship. You haven't done the work that you need to do to get them into a place that they would accept that offer, right? And so sometimes having a strategy where you're going to work them through a number of messages and touch points before you make that ask can be really effective. And now you might be saying, well, yeah, why don't I just do that through something like the appointment generator, where we teach the multi-touch point messaging campaign? Well, it's different. And the reason is because what I'm going to show you has more messages in it, and you can get away with more messages, you can get away with more urgency, and you can have a stronger push around your deadline using email. It's just people will accept it more. If you work this strategy in your LinkedIn inbox or in your Facebook inbox, people are going to be like, enough, stop. You don't want to, let's say the last day of your promotion, you're going to send out 4 messages, right? 4 messages, counting down, and you're making sure people know what's happening, and 1 hour left, and all the different things that I'm going to talk to you about in this training. If you were to send those kind of messages to people through LinkedIn, a lot of people would just be turned off by it because it's just not the right venue for that kind of promotion. But email absolutely is, and it works really well with email. So that's a big reason why this is important. And before we get into mechanics, I want to talk about the 5 components of an offer. And this is something that I got from Danny Inney, who I just spent a couple days with, and really helped to really boil down kind of the what are the main components of an offer. So let's call this the 5 components of an offer. And if you are following along at home, get out a piece of paper and work along with me as I'm going through this, and we will make sure that we have a copy of these slides that I'm creating, as well as any of my notes and such, included along with this training video that you are watching. So the 5 components of an offer. Let's talk about what each of these components are. So let's go here. Let's say that number 1 is the transformation. So these are all things that you need to be demonstrating in your offer if you're going to be as successful as possible with whatever you're putting out there. Motivation, I'm going to talk about each of these things. Mechanism, proof, and then the campaign itself, which we will dig into a lot of detail on. Transformation, motivation, mechanism, proof, and campaign. So what are these things? Well, the transformation is really the showing somebody what happens before all the way to after. It is painting the picture of what is the before state and then showing them what it can look like after, right? So you're basically painting the picture for your prospect of, exactly where they're at right now and where they're going to be after, right? And you do this through stories. Essentially, is the best way to do it. All right. So this is a key part of the process, right? Of talking to people about where they're at now, what problems they have right now, and then the promised land, the pleasure island they can get to afterwards. Okay. And so this is, I mean, it might seem, straightforward. Of course, all of our marketing talks about, hey, you might have this problem now. I have this thing, and it can allow you to arrive at this greater place in your life, this pleasure island, after you have consumed my product, right? So this is a key thing to include in your offer, all right? But that doesn't mean that it necessarily needs to be like the first thing in your marketing, okay? Because the marketing itself is the campaign, right? So we're talking about a couple things here, okay? We're talking about the 5 components of an offer, which are these 5 things, okay? Transformation, motivation, mechanism, proof, and campaign. And then we're going to talk about the campaign itself, okay? So this doesn't mean that the first thing you need to do is talk about the transformation, although it might be, it might not, all right? So just to make that clear, transformation before and after, critical component of your offer. The next one is motivation, which is basically what we mean here when we talk about motivation is that, that they should want to engage with whatever you have. All right. Why should they care? So as, let me put this down here. This is something I got from Danny as well. Where he said, as, and then you put your role, I should, ... Right? So it's essentially saying, like, let's say that your prospect is a roofing contractor. As a roofing contractor, I should want to grow my margins because of X, right? So it's making sure that not only do they care about the transformation, but what is their motivation for caring about it? Okay? So critical that you make sure that you hammer that home. That's a very important one. In my opinion, this next one is probably the most important component of these, I'd say with the first 4, and that is the mechanism, okay? And another way to put it is that this is, maybe you've heard of the term unique mechanism in the past, right? So people will say, well, I've heard these claims before. What's unique about it this time, right? Well, that's your unique mechanism. That could be your unique methodology that they haven't tried before. It could be your it could be your secret ingredients. It could be your system, your approach. It could be all sorts of things. But essentially what we're talking about here is the mechanism is what gives them hope that this will work where other solutions have failed. Okay? That's what it comes down to, because in this day and age, there are not many markets that haven't reached a point where they're already thinking about this. And that when you approach them with whatever you have, they're already thinking, yeah, but I've done something like that before. I've tried that before, and it didn't work. So why is this going to be any different? Oh, because you have the XYZ method, something I was not aware of, right? Or you have the software component that makes it happen for me. Or, whatever it could be. Everybody's business is a little different, but it's that showing them that you've got something unique that the other things that they've done before didn't have. This is your secret sauce right here, okay? And then the 4th component is proof, all right? Proof. And proof is, how do I know this will work? How do I know this will work? And, really with this, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. When you're putting an offer out there to people, you simply have to have proof backing up your claims that what you do is going to work. Pretty simple, right? Because otherwise, you can get business without that, especially if you're just getting started, if you don't have case studies, if you don't have testimonials. I mean, one thing you can do is go borrow from other people to show third-party examples of here's a company that got these kinds of results, and you don't say that you helped them achieve those results. You just talk about it in kind of the third person like that. But regardless, you have to have some sort of proof built into your offers at some point or another. And we all do that with testimonials, with case studies, all that kind of stuff. So then we've done transformation, we know motivation, mechanism, proof, 4 critical components of your offer. Now we talk about the campaign. So with the campaign, there's essentially 2 elements that you want to be thinking about. You want to be thinking about, and these are things that you embed throughout all of your marketing, okay? And you can structure them as well into different, this, then that, right? So you can either have these all weaving together, or you can kind of set them up as one then the next. Different people do them different ways. But essentially we've got the first component of your campaign is going to be what Danny described, and I think this is really good, is the demand narrative, right? So this is really the story that creates the demand, okay? And in the story, you're going to have 3 components. You're going to have the new, what's the best way to do this? I'll tell you what. We know we're talking about campaign. Let's move this up here. Demand narrative. You're going to have down here, and we're going to bullet this one like this. So, demand narrative. The 3 components are the new possibility. And basically what that means is that, basically what you're telling somebody is you thought that, X wasn't possible because of Y, but here's why you're wrong. All right, that's the new possibility. Then we have this will work for you. And it's in this one that we're essentially addressing their objections in advance. And then in the third piece of the demand narrative, it's painting the picture of Pleasure Island. What life will be like. Painting the picture, Pleasure Island. Often this is going to be done through case studies and showing examples of for this third component of what life will be like. Often done through case studies and showing examples of people like them who have done it already, right? So that's the demand narrative, okay? Those things there. And it doesn't want to make it bigger, but it's big enough already. So let's move that up there. And at that point, we have the second component of the campaign is the offer. And so the offer essentially has 5 components. And those 5 components, again, let's make this number 2, the offer. Those 5 components are the origin story. So why are you doing this? What brought you to this point that you are now making this offer to them? The offer / promise, the cost, risk reversal, so that could be guarantees, all that kind of stuff, and then the call to action. Do this now. Okay, so those are really the 5 main components of that you need in offer. All right. So this is just, I think this is really important stuff um, to review before we get into the process and the mechanics of everything that we're putting together here. Okay. So now that we've done that, we've talked about, what are the different components of an offer, and what are the components of a campaign. Let's talk about exactly how you're going to do this, because the promise here was how to create a big list out of thin air and launch a promo. And I'm talking about a lot of things here. I skipped over creating a big list, and I started talking about launching a promo right away, because really that's really the most important part, because if you get the offer right, it doesn't almost matter how big your list is. If you get the offer right, you're going to have success. And so, you want to spend equal time in every area, but this is just such an important thing that I really wanted to spend some time on it. So before we get into the exact process, though, of how you're going to build that list, let's look at what the calendar might look like for putting out an offer like this, okay? And I'll tell you what. First thing I want to do is just give you a high-level overview of kind of what we're talking about here, all right? And basically the promotion looks like this. Let me duplicate this. Let me clear this slide out, and I am going to pull something else up on the screen. Okay, so what we're going to do here is this is the big picture, guys, okay? What we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to go find a bunch of emails really quickly, how to add them to your email list. And these are people that are going to be the right prospects for what you're doing, the right kind of people that you want in your programs, buying your products, getting on the phone with you. And then how to get them into your email software, then how to structure a campaign that's going to work them through to purchasing whatever you're selling, signing up for one of your strategy sessions, whatever it might be, okay? So here's really like a day by day of how this is going to play out, all right? And it basically looks like this. Let's just walk through each of these real quick. So the first thing that you're going to do is export LinkedIn connections and scrub that list of anybody you don't want. I'm gonna go through more of these details, so don't worry if you're like, wait, what? How do I do that, right? So then on that same day, you're gonna import these connections into either MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever email service provider you use, okay? So that's really, your first day, once you're ready for that, is doing that work, all right? Now, then you're on to starting to send out some emails, okay? And so there's a whole process that I'm gonna talk to you about that you're going to use for doing this. And the first email is an opt-out email, where we're essentially going to import all these people into MailChimp or Constant Contact, and then you're going to email them and ask them if they would like to receive more. Okay, and I'm going to show you how I've done it, and you can structure your email off of that if you'd like. Then from there, we launch into the campaign. And the way I've got it structured here is that we basically, this is roughly 2 weeks, right? We are sending 4 different pieces of content. Okay, so it's, you might decide to shorten it up. You might go a little bit longer. But, I find that this is a pretty good pace, because consider that these are people that, they haven't known you for very long. You're pulling this list out of thin air, essentially, because these are LinkedIn connections that you have. These could be, people from other sources, which I'm going to talk about as well. So it takes some time to warm them up. And then once you have warmed them up a little bit here, that's when you're going to transition to the offer, and you're going to let them know that it's coming, and you're going to tease the offer. Then you're going to explain the offer. Then on day 18, the 8th email they receive, you say it's here. Then on email 9, day 19, frequently asked questions, and some more emails all the way to the last day, where you send a few emails to them to get them to take action on the last day of the promotion, okay? So this is the process. This is like the ultimate goal of what we're going to be getting to with this, all right? And so hopefully you can see now why, this kind of a campaign really doesn't make sense to do within LinkedIn, right? Because once you start getting to, some of these email 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 down the list, like you're sending a lot of messages to someone in LinkedIn or Facebook, and a lot of people just won't, they'll think this isn't what LinkedIn's for. Like, why are you sending me stuff like this here, right? Especially on the last day. If you're like, only a few hours left, Mark, and then a couple hours later saying, only an hour left, Mark, you better, jump in on this, right? Mark's going to be like, what? Stop sending me messages here. But with email, when you get their permission to send them the stuff through this first message, they're going to be okay with it. You're going to get some unsubscribes. It always happens. Every time you send out an email, you're going to get somebody unsubscribing. But this process, it works really well. So let's talk about step number 1. And step number 1 here is use LinkedIn to connect with lots of prospects. And you want it to be targeted prospects, okay? So guys, pretty simple here. When you're on LinkedIn, you go to the advanced search, do some searches, do a database build. If you're not already a member of the appointment generator, or if you're not already a member of Linked University, then I would recommend that you join one of those programs to get all of our in-depth training on prospecting and building databases. But the long and short of it is that you want to go on here and you want to you want to send out a lot of connection requests to people that fit your profile. So, let's say that you are a business consultant that works in Chicago and you're looking for small business owners in Chicago. Well, then you might be on here looking for people with title of owner, current, and, company size of 1 to 10. Okay? Let's do that. Let's hit search. 1 million people, because that's not just Chicago, that's all of LinkedIn, right? So now let's go down to location and let's do located in or near, and then let's look up Chicago zip code, and we'll go with 60607. Within 50 miles of that, trims it down to 18,000, okay? Then from there, you can just get more granular. Let's say you want to go after specific industries or specific titles or specific, company names, or anything you want, right? Or you want to get rid of, you want it to be only second-degree connections, people that you have a shared connection with. Okay, now I'm down to 2,000, and I have shared connections with all of these people, which makes it much easier to connect with them. So then go through and connect with these people. All right, use a personalized message when you do this. Okay, use a personalized message when you do this. And you shouldn't need to include an email there for everybody. But when you do this, include a personal note. Don't use that stock LinkedIn message. And you can just come up with a real simple script, right? I mean, you could have something to the effect of, let's just, add another thing down here for anybody that doesn't have this part down yet. Could just say, came across your profile and noticed we have some common connections. Thought we might benefit from being connected. Thanks. Your name. Something really simple like that. So it's different than what the normal stock LinkedIn message says, and so it comes across and it gets it's viewed much more favorably. It looks like you've actually taken the time to do it, right? So go through that process. If you have to just lock yourself in a room for a period of time to send out a lot of these, because at the end of the day, look, if you get 1,000 highly targeted new connections and they are, perfect for your business, then that's a really nice sized list that you're going to have to work through this campaign that I'm going to show you. If you get 3,000 people, it's even better. But you don't need thousands, okay? Because you don't have to do all of this at the same time. You could do, say, a few hundred requests today, then have, 150 new connections a week from now, and then work those batches through. So let me back up. If you did a few hundred connection requests today with a personalized script, you should have 40-50% of people agreeing to connect with you. So all of a sudden you've got 150 new connections. It'll take some time, so give it like a week for some of these connections to come through, and then work those batches through this process that I'm showing you. And then, maybe next week you do another batch, and then the week after you do another, and you can keep adding these people into your autoresponder. And doing this works really well if you have an evergreen promotion, such as like let's say you have a series of case studies that lead to a strategy session, right? So let's say in your sequence here that each of these emails is a different case study on a different type of company or a different type of problem that somebody solved. It's just really good, valuable content that's really helpful to people. And then let's say that the offer that's eventually made is to a strategy session or a one-on-one call. Okay, well, I mean, you can have this just running all the time, and you can just be adding new people into the process all the time. And once you get a model down that works, then it's just a matter of continually building your connections to work people through this process, and it works really, really well. So that is essentially that component of the process. All right, now keep in mind though, you don't have to confine yourself to just LinkedIn for this data. All right, think about all the people, all the emails that you have in Gmail, right? All in your Gmail. Think about all of the people that you have on Twitter that you're possibly connected to, right? So for me, Twitter, right? I mean, 8,000 followers. And they're not all going to be good, but what would I do with that? What can I do with that, right? What can you do with that? If you run a campaign on Twitter to where you go out and you connect with targeted prospects that fit the criteria of who you want to do business with and build a nice little following of those people, well, then there's a lot of ways that you can get those people's email addresses. If you just search for how to get email addresses from Twitter followers, you'll see that there's some tools out there that can do that. Or you can just have a virtual assistant do it for you. Go through my Twitter followers and research them, find the ones that look like the right criteria, and give me their email addresses. They could do the same thing for you with any of your Facebook friends that fit the profile. Have them go through, have them find those people's emails, and work them through the process, okay? So doing that, you'll get a really, really substantial database of folks. Now, with LinkedIn, once you've got all these connections, then what you want to do is go over here to My Network and Connections, and then click on this little gear here. And right here it says Export LinkedIn Connections. So when you do that, it's going to give you all of your connections from LinkedIn. So let's add that as another step here. Step 2. Export LinkedIn connections to CSV. It's an Excel file, okay? And then once you have that, so let's just click this here. Download your data archive, request archive. It'll send you a file. Your data is being prepared for download. Within 24 hours, we'll send you a link where you can download the data. Let's see if I can pull up an older file. Josh LinkedIn connections, okay. So here's essentially what this is going to look like. You've got names and you've got emails, okay? So then you can import all this data, the first name, last name, if you want last name in there, but at least, you might as well import first name and email address into whatever software you're using. And that's the next step in this process, is to import your connections into your ESP. So import your exported LinkedIn connections into ESP, email service provider. And I'll be honest, so like MailChimp, I've done it with MailChimp before. Constant Contact seems to be the most lenient with this sort of thing, right? Because what's going to happen is that when you send this email, you're going to have an unusually large number of people who will unsubscribe the first time you do it. And it kind of throws up a flag. And so, like the first time I did it with MailChimp, I got a warning message from them saying that, hey, it looks like you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing. You agree not to do that again? Yes. Okay, go on. All right. And so essentially with people like MailChimp, you usually get like a get out of jail free card. And then from there, when you're just adding new people in, the number of unsubscribes you get won't be high enough to trigger that flag anymore. So MailChimp is one that you can do this with. Constant Contact is one that you can do this with. There's so many different email softwares out there that you can do this with. If you have a question about yours, there's so many that I'm not sure we'll be able to address every single one that's out there. But if you have a question, throw it in the chat. But really, at the end of the day, this is something that you want. The first time you do it, just expect that it might throw up a red flag. And then you just kind of have to say, oh, okay, yeah, I won't do that. And then you just kind of move on from there. But you've got a pretty sizable database at your disposal now, right? So that's how you do that. Now it is time to craft your opt-out message. So if you remember, that's this first email here, which is this opt-out email where you're saying, hey, I've got some awesome stuff that I want to send you. And I think you're really going to get a lot out of it, right? So when I launched Linked University back in 2012, I approached this from a standpoint of, I had very few people on my email list, and I knew that in order to launch this program successfully, I need a lot more. So what am I going to do? Well, I spent a lot of time building up my LinkedIn connections well in advance of that, so that I had several thousand. You can see them right here. By the time, let's scroll down a little bit to the first message, which would have been somewhere, this one here, $29.97. So that by the time June came around and I was ready to execute this strategy, I had enough connections that it helped me grow my list massively. You can see here that before that I had 400 subscribers on my email list, right? And in 2012, you can see how small this list was up until the point that we use this strategy, right? So when you have no list, this is a great way to do it. So what did I do, right? Well, what is this email? Okay, well, here, let's look at what this email is. So the subject line, as you can see above, it says, as an active LinkedIn user, you won't want to miss this. Now, that's not very good, I don't think. So let's go look. Let's make sure that actually was the subject line. Let's go to view report here and see what it was. Where do you get the subject line in here? I know that I saw it when I was looking through this earlier. There's a place where you can see the subject line. Let's go to overview. I think that's the screen that I'm on. Let's try going to the actual email itself. Yeah. So here it is. Go to details, see subject line. As an active LinkedIn user, you won't want to miss this. So that was effective because what I had to talk about was related to LinkedIn. So you can see here's what I did, and you can follow this same format. Okay, I said, I put their first name in here, and I said, I'll make this brief. I know you're busy. As a valued connection of mine on LinkedIn, you'll want to know about this. First, though, and this one's important, if you don't want to receive an email from me again, click here for one-click unsubscribe. So you just put it up top there to say, click here if you don't want to receive an email from me again. Now, a real ninja trick here, is to put that big and bold at the top. If you don't want to receive an email from me again, click here. And then instead of having that go to the unsubscribe, have that go to a tag that tells you who has clicked that tag. So, for example, in Infusionsoft, let's make sure we don't forget what we're doing here, which is now that we've imported our connections, we are crafting our opt-out email. And the ninja trick that I want to talk about that will totally almost eliminate the entire problem of MailChimp or any other ESP saying that you've had an abnormal amount of unsubscribes is to include the unsubscribe at the top of your email, but do not have it go to a true unsubscribe. Set it up as a tag. Okay? So now every system has a different way of doing this. All right? Infusionsoft, it's tags. MailChimp, I'm not exactly sure, how you would set this up in MailChimp. It's not something that I did at the time. There's probably a way to do it though. And basically the way it works is like similar to, let's go to an email that we recently sent out. So like 45 minutes with a sales legend. And so you can see how at the bottom of this email we'll say, so if you're not interested in hearing about Brian's content, just click here and we'll know not to tell you any more about his stuff. So what happens there is people that don't want to know about this topic click this link and it tells us that we don't want it. See, it doesn't go to an unsubscribe page. It says, thanks, your email preferences have been updated. Okay? And now we know that they don't want to hear any more about this. So the next email we send about Brian's stuff, we don't send it to them. And that prevents people from scrolling down here and clicking unsubscribe and getting none of our emails, right? So in your case, if you set something up like that, you simply have to have a little landing page like this set up that says, thanks, sorry to see you go. We won't be emailing you anymore. Really appreciate your time, okay? So that instead of it being an actual unsubscribe, you're not going to email them again. Okay? You're not going to email them again. You're going to honor that. But as far as the email system goes, they're still on your list. Okay? You just have to make sure that you have it set up properly so that you don't actually email them again. Okay? So depending on what email service you're using, it's probably a way to do that, and something that I would really recommend that you look into. So back to the actual message that I sent though here. So basically I'm saying if you don't want to receive another email from me again, click here for one click unsubscribe. And then I tell them I'm developing a killer training program. Here's what it's all about. But I need your help to make sure that it covers all the bases and everything you need to use LinkedIn to grow your business. And so it's essentially telling people that I want to involve you in the process of creating this program, and that it's going live in the next couple months, and that I want to know what are the biggest challenges you face in growing your business, whether you're using LinkedIn or otherwise. Okay? So essentially, here's the thing here. What I'm doing is I'm telling people that, hey, I've got some stuff I want to send you. If you don't want to receive that stuff, just click here. I won't send you anything else about it. But I've got this thing I'm doing, and I'd like your help, and I'd like to know what your challenges are with it. If you're speaking to the right market, they'll be receptive to this. And, I also tell them that before that, I'll keep you posted with occasional behind-the-scenes updates on what goes into creating something like this. From a business perspective, I think you'll find it all very valuable and interesting. So I'm selling them that I'm going to be sending you more content, basically about building this program that I'm going to sell to you in a couple months, right? So I'm really involving them in the process. And, that this exact framework might not work for you, okay? But hopefully the gist of what I'm doing in this email does. What you want to do is you want to set the stage, make sure make sure they know who you are, and give them a chance to opt out, and then tell them that you want to keep in touch with them over the next couple months, and that you got some amazing stuff that you want to share with them that you think is really going to be helpful for them. Or it could just be that, if you're following a more strict path like this, where you're saying, well, Josh, it's not a couple months, it's 3 weeks. And say, well, I've got a new, I have a series of case studies that I'm going to be sending out over the next couple weeks. I'd love to include you in it if you think that would be valuable for you. Here's a couple things that you're going to learn in them, and then maybe bullet point each of the pieces of content that are going to be in those next coming emails. And then that kind of gets them excited. Like, yeah, okay, I'll stick around for this. Those emails sound like they're going to be pretty awesome. And then that's how you get them hooked in. And so then from there, once I sent that first email, the next email, just walk you through this process. So you can see that anytime it goes to one of these big chunks, it was to the contacts from LinkedIn that I imported. And the next email isn't until roughly a week later, this one here. And let's go look at that email. And that email subject line was, could you implement this in your business? The value ladder behind Linked University. And essentially it was just more value. So again, I'm reminding them, I said, I promised you last week that I had some behind the scenes stuff coming your way to show you what goes into building a training program like Linked University. Today I want to tell you about the value ladder that I'm using to position the program. And I think you'll find some insight here that can help you grow your business. And so on and on. I just talked to him about value ladders, concept that you guys know what a big proponent I am of this concept still to this day. And I talk about how all of the content that I put out there plays into this. I talk about how they can do the same thing for them. And then I even have a little mention of a program that I was part of called Social Media Intensive back then in 2012. And so you can see that this content just continues. So then June 25th, that was the second email. Okay, then July 2nd, I have my third email. Let's see what this one was. Oops. Let's click this one. So this one, the subject line was a few real strategies you can use immediately to boost your online marketing efforts. And then again, I referenced last week, I shared you the value ladder. And I got a question of, I see how this could work for me, but I just wonder how I can get it all done. And then I talk about consistency and how it's important, and the work that I do consistently to deliver on all of this. I reference back to last week's email. I talk about different ways to get it done. I talk about getting interns. I talk about technology, creating custom calendars, scheduling things in advance, how it can work for you too. And a lot of this stuff is really helpful for people to try and figure out, how am I going to get this done? What are the different options out there to get some of these things done? And it also leads them into thinking about the offer, because then once the I don't have time for this excuse has been eliminated way before I've even made the offer, then people are, they are less likely to have that excuse, because we've given them all of these different opportunities and different ideas for how they can eliminate some of that thinking. So that was July 2nd. Then let's go here. We have July 9th. What's your plan to consistently provide value? Let's see what that one was. So the subject line was, what's your plan to consistently provide value? And essentially this email was really just a, basically talking about what's included in Linked University, right? And so how I set it up was that, for most people, business is about providing consistent value. And that if your business model doesn't do that, you're going to have a lot of turnover. And that this is an issue that we faced in developing Linked University, but we developed a solution for it, and I think this kind of thinking might be able to help your business too. And so essentially what I'm talking about is, what are the things that we did to allow Linked University to be a program that consistently provides value and not just a one-time transaction. All right, and you can see how it's framed in kind of a case study that they can think about, well, how am I doing that in my business? But then it's also kind of getting them excited about Linked University, which will be launching soon. So then the next one, on July 16th, 12 ways to grow your LinkedIn database. Let's go look at that one real quick here. So 12 ways to grow your database, and there's really something in here for every level of LinkedIn user. And that's pretty much it. This was just a valuable email that I sent out to everybody. 12 ways to grow your LinkedIn database. There really wasn't any like huge tie-in to Linked University, but I did tie it into a free webinar I was doing with Startup America Partnership. And that's, that was a good thing for building value for me and positioning of the program that, wow, this is something that's pretty legit. And you don't always have to beat people over the head with it. Not every email needs to be, and don't forget, Linked University is coming in a couple of weeks, right? It's, an email like this is just about providing value, right? So then the next one here, July 22nd, you can't do this on your own, and neither could I. Well, that's interesting. What's that? Let's take a look and find out what that is. So the subject on that, you can't do this on your own, and neither could I. And it talks about the value ladder. And then I talk about Linked University. And I talk about the behind the scenes of building it. And I brought in a number of people on the technical side. I talk about what we've outsourced. I give people, links to the people that we worked with on the project. I talk about mentors that I worked with that helped me get to this point. So this was one of those like really valuable behind the scenes emails that people were like, wow, this is really, really interesting and informative, and it's selling on what I told them, that, hey, I've got this program coming out and I'd like your help in building it. And along the way, I'm going to show you the behind the scenes of what I'm doing. And people are really interested in it. And I mean, there's a ton of value in emails like this. So there's that one. That's on July 22nd. Then on July 30th, we start with the first push into Linked University. And so I tell them, let's go look at this. It says 3 new LinkedIn training videos, the world premiere. And for the last month or so, I've been sharing with you a lot of behind the scenes info about my business and our development of Linked University. The feedback has been fantastic, and I really want to thank you again for being a part of it. Over the next couple of weeks, I have a lot of valuable content I'll be sharing with you. We have 3 free LinkedIn training videos coming out. You should receive the first one later this week. So I'm not even sending it to them yet. I'm just telling them that it's coming and that it's going to be awesome, and to keep your eyes out for these emails. And again, the subject line, 3 new LinkedIn training videos, the world premiere. And then here on Friday, August 3rd, we send the first one, the 5 key principles of any successful LinkedIn campaign. Then here we have Sunday, August 5th. We have the second video, the LinkedIn secret that most businesses are missing out on. Then on Monday, I sent a reminder email, said, hey, have you seen these yet? And so this one was just, let's go check this one out. This one was just a really simple, hey, I want to make sure you didn't miss the first 2 videos. And in a couple days, I'll be taking you behind the scenes of my business to show you exactly what we're doing to dominate LinkedIn. And I'll introduce you to a client of mine who just in a short few months has generated multi-million-dollar opportunities using LinkedIn. So look what I'm doing here, guys. In this video here, in that same training, the third video, what I'm doing is what we're talking about here, the demand narrative, what life will be like, painting the picture, often done through case studies and showing examples of people like them who have done it already, right? So I've already sent the first 2 videos here, covered the first 2 things in the demand narrative, the new possibility, right? You thought that doing this on LinkedIn wasn't possible because of why, but here's why you're wrong, and that this will work for you, and addressing their objections. All that stuff's in those videos. And then in the third video, I show case studies. That's really the whole point of it. So that is that email. Then we have this one here. Launch day 4. Has this ever happened to you? That didn't get sent. Here's the video then on Wednesday the 8th, which is behind the scenes of my business and my clients. All right. And so that particular video, that's the one that I was teasing in the last email. And there you have all of that. Copy right there. Again, subject line, behind the scenes of my business and my clients. And you can see that got a pretty good open rate, 18.8%. And then, let's see here, 2 days later, it's open. Linked University. I opened the doors Friday, 2012. Then the next email up here is not until Tuesday. Do you have any of these questions? So it's like a frequently asked questions email. Then on Friday, the 17th, an inside look at Linked University. I showed people a video going through the whole members area and what they would get and all that kind of stuff. You can see still getting really good open rates, 19%. Then Sunday the 19th, last chance for the special. And then that was the end of it, I believe. Let's go look at this email and double check that. The big sale for Linked University is ending tomorrow. So apparently we ended it on a Monday. And you can see that we sold it for $98, and after that it'll be $178. So we bumped the price up really quickly. And if we can get back to that page, there was no other email though, not even another. So you can see how like I just did so many things in this promotion that were really just, I left a lot of money on the table with it. And so you're thinking, well, Josh, that exact structure, which guys, I'm going to give you all the copies for all of those emails that I walked you through so that you can, take out of that what you want. But here's what I would recommend for most people. Knowing now what I know now, here's what I think that you should think about doing. You want this to be a 2 to 3 week type campaign. And I lean towards 3 weeks with this because of the nature of where these connections are coming from. All right. Now, for a lot of normal JV launches and stuff, 14 to 16 days is good enough. But because these are people that you're connected to on LinkedIn that you're importing into a list, I think you want to give them a little bit more time to really position value and give them good stuff. Because if you take somebody's email off LinkedIn and import them into your email software, and you don't take the time to build lots of value, then what you're doing instead is you're going for the sale too quickly. And then they're not going to like you, because then what you've done is you've imported their email into your email software and you've started trying to sell them immediately. But when you do this stuff here, okay, when you spend the first 2 weeks just providing them with great stuff, it'll go really well. So I believe that the ideal sequence for this is to spend the first 2 weeks building it up. If you want to spend even more time, great. I mean, you can see how with the Linked University stuff, I spent over a month building up, where I sent a weekly email. Over a month, 1 email a week. But I don't think that's necessary. I think you can do something more like this. So first couple weeks is great content, awesome stuff. Again, could be case studies, could be behind the scenes information, but it's got to be good stuff that people are going to care about and want to stay engaged in. Then from there, you're going to want to transition to the offer, and you're going to want to let them know that it's coming, and you're going to want to tease the things that are coming up. And you can make mention of these things in some of these other emails, okay? But at most, you might have like a little mention or a tease that something awesome is coming in a couple weeks. But honestly, you're probably better off leaving it out. Now, the one time when you would want to leave it in is if you have something to the effect of a strategy session that you're offering. So if the entire point of this campaign is to get them to book a call with you, then there's probably nothing wrong with putting like a PS in each of these emails that says, hey, PS, if you be interested in chatting about how we might be able to help your business get results like these, and see how some of these ideas might apply to you, then click here or hit reply to this email and let me know, and we can set up a time to talk. You could put something like that in those emails, and you might get some leads quicker that way. But you don't want to go for the kill too soon. For most people, you're probably going to do better just leaving it out. And then you transition to the offer. And so you need to have a nice little segue from the content emails to then talking about the offer. And it has to flow the right way, and it can't feel like some weird, abrupt thing. All right? So you have to just make sure that these emails all work together like a big story, right? Like they're not disjointed pieces of content. This all flows together so nicely. Email 6 references the previous emails, and it could be as simple as saying, we're so excited that you decided to stay on this journey with me to, receive the 4 case studies that I put together on the series on XYZ. And, I've gotten so much amazing feedback from it that I've decided to do something special, and I'm putting together blah, 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 blah. And that's how you transition to your offer, right? Or, in my case, I told them the offer was coming in the very first email that, hey, I'm building this thing, and I want to give you the behind the scenes, and I want to get your input on it, and get your feedback on some of the things I'm doing. But, if you're going for strategy sessions, that's not going to work. And depending on your market, it may or may not work, right? So everybody's plan is going to be a little bit different. If you have questions about your plan, if you're putting it together and you're thinking, you know what, hey, here's the angle that I think I'm going with, and here's some of the content ideas I have. What do you think about it? Let us know so that we can give you some feedback on it, because, there is a art and a science to this. I'm giving you a lot of the science here and trying to, get as much of the art out there as well, right? But every business is different, and I'm sure you have a lot of ideas rolling around in your head right now about how you're going to structure this for your business. And I want to make sure that we're there for you to make sure that you're pointed in the right direction on that, okay? So with that, again, you transition to the offer here. You let them know it's coming. Again, here you're explaining the offer. The reason I say tease in these 2 pieces here is because we haven't yet made the offer. You're not, it's, in this case, you're transitioning to the offer, you're letting them know it's coming, and you're teasing that it's coming. Then here you're going to explain a little bit more about what's coming, but it's still not available yet. And then it's not until this day that it's here. It's ready. Okay? And they can then sign up for it. You can send them to a sales page. They can sign up for the strategy session if you're sending them to a page to fill out their information for that. Whatever your offer is, it's now available, right? So then the next day here, this is day 19, this is the 9th email, you can see how we start picking up the pace on these emails. We go from an email every 4 days to an email every day to 3 emails on the last day. Okay, because once we start hitting the offer, we're going to pick up the pace, and we're going to push hard. We're going to add some urgency, some scarcity. We're going to add a deadline, and that's the best way to get these folks to make a move. So from there, after it's here, it's open, today's the day, let's do this email, then the next day is frequently asked questions, okay? So you got to come up with what are the right questions that you think people are wondering about this, and and then address those in an email. And one of them should be, how in your it's here, make sure that you let them know that you're going to close this opportunity down in 4 days. There's a limited time to do this kind of thing. And you have to come up with a reason why, okay? But there's always a way to come up with a reason why you're going to shut it down, even if it's for one-on-one calls, okay? For one-on-one calls, it could be, hey, I'm only leaving this opportunity to sign up for a strategy session open for the next 4 days. And the reason why is because I've had a lot of interest off the case studies, and I need to turn my attention to working with some clients. And I can only take a limited number of calls with folks who are interested in strategizing with me. So the deadline for that is this coming Friday or whatever it is, right? And so that's one way to do it. And then you have to legitimately shut it down. And then with any other type of offer, plenty of ways to create that kind of same scarcity and deadline. So then what we're going to do here is the day after the frequently asked questions email, I'd recommend sending some sort of an email with case studies, testimonials, things like that. Then on day 21, your 11th email is just tomorrow's the last day, maybe a recap of the offer and benefits. So you again, guys, keep in mind, you always want to be talking about Pleasure Island here, okay? Because this is not about a strategy session. This is not about buying your product. This is about the destination they want to get to. All right? They're in a place right now. They're over here on Pain Island. They want to get to Pleasure Island. You need to be describing Pleasure Island. They don't care too much about how they're going to get there. All right? But you want to be talking about those benefits and how hey, this program is all about blank. Right? If you're in this situation now, you need to come join me in this program so that we can turn that around, and that a month from now, a week from now, a year from now, whatever the timeline is, you can be one of these people like Mary who blank, blank, blank testimonial, right? Then on the last day, again, it's really reminding them that today's the last day, guys. There's only a few spots left. Again, like I said, tomorrow I have to turn my attention to focusing on all our new clients, etc. And then you want to send another email out when there's a few hours left, and then another one when there's only 1 hour left saying, last call, final email on this. That's kind of the gist of it. And you can see how when I promoted Linked University, I didn't do that. I sent one email on Sunday saying, last chance for special. It ends tomorrow. And then I didn't do anything else. I sent this email and then none of these. Left a lot of money on the table doing that, guys. Just being a rookie essentially, and not knowing what I don't know, and not having the right people to model what I'm doing after, and left some money on the table. But that's okay, because we learn from that stuff. So there's a typo there. This is actually email 14. And so, guys, this is really the structure of it. Okay. Then from there, it's the deadline, the urgency, the scarcity, right? That is really the next, the thing that we talked about a lot, about how to create that. So if you're struggling with that, we can help you with that. And keep in mind, guys, that if there's a way to structure this so that it's evergreen, do it, okay? And I would almost say that, like, look at it like a mandate. Like, you have to do this as something that is evergreen, all right? And don't set this up as something that you just do one time to get some leads or some sales. That this is going to be an evergreen funnel that you're going to continually run people through. Not only from importing these connections, that's going to be your first source of new prospects into this. But think about what an awesome campaign you've built now. That you can now have people opting into this on your website and all sorts of other places. Like, this is going to turn into a pretty powerful campaign for you if you do it the right way, okay? So, guys, this is, in a nutshell, the best way I know of to go from having almost no list and needing more people on your list and trying to figure out how to drive them into an offer and to getting them to take action, right? Because you can see here with this kind of a campaign, you're building a lot more interest. You're creating this demand narrative, right? And you've got a lot more built into your offer here that you can when you're just sending a few messages through a LinkedIn campaign or something to that effect. Okay, so this is a great thing to do in combination with a campaign like the multi-touch point campaign that we teach in the appointment generator. It's just a different type of campaign, right? So I know that for a lot of you that are listening to this right now, if you're already this far into it, then you know that this is going to be for you. Now, if you're somebody that's not sure that this is for you yet, then maybe you ask us and we'll let you know if there's a different path to it. But at the end of the day, if you've got something that requires you to build trust, requires you to build value, requires you to really take time to get to know somebody, really build a relationship, really position yourself as a real resource, and to get people thinking like, wow, this is somebody I need to pay attention to, then this might be the best way for you to go about getting those people on the phone with you, getting those people into your programs, whatever it might be. Okay, so if this kind of indoctrination process is something that you need to be doing, then I think that this kind of a framework can work for you. So make sure that you go through this again if you need to. If you have any questions, let us know. Go through the swipe copy from the emails from the Linked University launch, and let us know if you have any questions.